Hi, everybody. So we're gonna try and finish up this middle chunk of the list. I'm still on it. However, interestingly, even though we're still in that middle chunk, we are now in the top half of the list. And something kind of exciting is that I guess because we're in the top half of the list, a lot of these movies are going to start to now be a little bit more representative of like objectively good films as opposed to necessarily just my kitschy taste. So that's a little bit exciting. Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive right on in because we have a lot to cover as usual. Number 53 is Lord of the Rings. Now I have the Fellowship of the Ring listed on my list as number 53, but I do just want to say that I'm a huge fan of the whole trilogy. I do have all of the extended editions. I could sit around and binge watch all the extended editions and all the behind the scenes featurettes and documentaries for 3.5 days straight, and I would be in hog heaven. So that tells you a little something about the kind of nerd that I am. So moving on to number 52, Shawshank Redemption. So Shawshank Redemption came out in 1994. It is an absolute work of art. This does have some beautiful performances from Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman both. Something that a lot of people don't know is that the Shawshank Redemption is actually based on a short story written by Stephen King. So if you were not aware of that, you're welcome. Okay, let's move on to number 51, Beetlejuice from 1988. So Beetlejuice, I refer you to an earlier video in which I added Edward Scissorhands and called it Peak Early Tim Burton. Again, peak early Tim Burton. This one also, though, has, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, Michael Keaton. So it was a wonderful movie to watch growing up. It's still a wonderful movie for me to watch. It's fun. The set pieces are great. It just, lots and lots of fun. Okay, moving on to number 50, which is Knives Out from 2019. Now, at 2019, I believe this might be the most modern movie on the list. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I really enjoyed this movie. I discovered it during the pandemic, and during that time, I watched it a lot over and over and over again. I think it's a really tight story. I think all the performances are great. Has a lot of the casting is wonderful. I'm a big fan. So highly recommend if for some reason you haven't seen it. Okay, number 49 is Moonstruck, 1987. I think Moonstruck is interesting because I think that for the people who watched it when it was coming out, or like who are able to watch it growing up, it is obviously just an absolute classic, and there is no argument about how wonderful the movie is. But for people who didn't grow up watching it, it's one of those movies that you don't hear a whole lot about it, so I think it's easy for people to just not know about it. But if you've never seen it, it's a great movie. This cast is amazing. Both Cher and Olympia Dukakis won Oscars for their performances. Nicolas Cage is in it. He's young and he's angry. It's great. I really, really highly recommend this movie if you've never seen it before. Okay, so number 48 is 2046 from 2004. Another Wong Kar-wai movie. This is part of a trilogy of films that are not direct sequels of each other, but they're kind of like spiritual sequels of each other. Actually, the first Wong Kar-wai movie that I have on the list, Chungking Express, is technically not part of that trilogy. In my mind, in my headcanon, it is the actual first part of that trilogy, but it technically isn't. Really, the only thing they have in common is Tony Leung. But I do love all three of them, watch them as if they were a trilogy, and this is not the last Wong Kar-wai that will show up on the list. Okay, so number 47 is Horns from 2013. Now, Horns is a movie that Daniel Radcliffe made a few years after the Harry Potter series ended. And one of the things I really loved about Daniel Radcliffe is that after he left the series and was probably independently wealthy for the rest of his life, he just decided to continue to pursue acting and pick projects that he just thought were interesting or funny. And this movie is definitely along that same vein of just like really oddball projects. It is not the weirdest one he's made. He's definitely made some really weird ones, but I do really, really enjoy it. I think it's really well made. I think it has a lot to it, and if you've never heard him do an American accent, buckle your seatbelts. So it's kind of a shocker. But anyway, number 46 is Blade Runner from 1982. So this movie's as old as I am. I, as a full-on sci-fi nerd, have a lot of Philip K. Dick in my favorite movies of just all time. On this list in particular, it was difficult to not put every single one of the films based on Philip K. Dick novels on this list. They're not all on here, but I have a few, and Blade Runner is one of the first ones. Now, Blade Runner is visually a kind of a stunning movie, especially when it came out. And it does have, of course, like the science fiction and also neo-noir sort of like aesthetic to it, which I love. And then, of course, there's a young Harrison Ford, which, I mean, you can't say no to that. Lots of fun. Really good movie. Okay, so moving on to, where are we? Number 45 is Seven by David Fincher, 1995 film. Another great performance by Morgan Freeman. This one also has Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey and Gwyneth Paltrow. If you are okay with watching movies that are graphic and have like disturbing content, I highly recommend this movie. It is just a punch in the gut. But man, it is a great movie. Lots of great performances, really good writing. And again, if you've never seen it, no spoilers. It is a really tightly done story, and I really appreciate all that about it. But the movie itself is just like, wow, like you just got to see it if you've never seen it. And if you have seen it, I mean, I think that there's lots that can be picked up on rewatches as well. So I'm a big fan. Okay, moving on. Number 44 is The Grand Budapest Hotel from 2014. So this is not the last Wes Anderson that will show up on my list. It may not necessarily be his best film, but it's always going to be dear to me because it specifically reminds me so much of my husband. My husband used to work in the hotel industry, and the main character of this film, which was played by Ray Fiennes, hilariously, the character reminds me a lot of the way I saw my husband when he was working in the hotel industry. So for that reason, that's always going to be dear to my heart. So I really like it, but not the only Wes Anderson movie that will show up on the list. Okay, moving on. Number 43 is Willow, 1988. Willow was directed by Ron Howard. So it's a very sweet movie, but it was written by George Lucas. So actually it borrows a lot from like the world of Lord of the Rings, in that it's a fantasy realm in which lots of different races kind of like cohabitate. And it has a young, irreverent Val Kilmer, which, you know, charms the pants off anyone. Ask his wife at the time, who he met during this movie. And it's just a lot of fun. It's really swashbuckly and all that. So it's a really fun movie to watch. Okay, moving on to number 42, which is Trainspotting from 1996. This is not the only Danny Boyle film that will end up on my list. I really love Trainspotting. It's an early Ewan McGregor performance. It is another like real graphic, kind of like frenetic view of substance abuse and like the havoc that it can wreak on just the population. So it's a lot of bangers in terms of like the soundtrack and like the visuals and of course the performances. Anyway, just highly recommend. It's a really, really good one. Okay, moving on to number 41, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is the Francis Ford Coppola version of Dracula. Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder. It's typical like gothic 90s romantic type of aesthetic, which I can't deny has me. I do love to watch it. I'm a complete sucker for it. I just you know, can't say no to it, which is the whole point of this section of the list, which, by the way, we are almost done with. I think I'm going to have to stop there, though. I don't think we have room for many more. I will pick it up at number 40 next time. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe out there, guys. Bye.